Happy June, almost July, coming soon. Making this video in a backyard. Gotta be making more videos in a much cooler context. Ghost investigations coming soon. Really busy, working full time. When I called to see what the schedule is, they want me to go in on that day. Really hard work, working really hard, and sleeping when I'm off work. So tired, you know. Forrest Fenn's treasure was found after 10 years. I first heard about Forrest Fenn's treasure probably about 5 years ago, and I lived in Arizona at the time, and the treasure was buried in New Mexico. And I considered on a weekend to drive there, because he said he was, or at least the general consensus 5 years ago, 4 years ago, maybe about 3 years ago, when I was really considering on a weekend to go. I looked at Google Maps and it was like a 12-hour drive. So he was still, even though I was one state away, it was like a 12-hour drive. It was a considerable drive, and 12 hours is a lot of time to dedicate for a buried treasure no one's been able to find up until that point for a number of years. So maybe about 3 years ago. You know, people have been looking for it for 8 years, and I heard people died looking for it. And all of a sudden, some anonymous treasure hunter from the East Coast found Forrest Fenn's treasure box of over $1 million worth of gold and jewelry. I don't doubt the box exists, but I'm a very skeptical person. The second I heard it was an anonymous treasure hunter that found it, that's a huge red flag. But, you know, it's very reasonable and possible that they wanted to not pay taxes to the government, and that's how they could, you know, just sell a coin here and there and try to bypass the huge tax that would come across finding $1 million worth of gold. I don't know how treasure hunt taxes work, but you know, a lot of gold coins were found in a shipwreck on the Pacific not too many years ago. I'm sure they had to pay huge taxes. Unless they went to a museum, there might be some loopholes, but obviously you find something in the ground, you're not taking it to a museum. It's finders keepers. So congratulations to the winner, if the winner exists. I mean, the treasure hunter, if the treasure hunter exists. I'm a very skeptical person. Even 5 years ago, 3 years ago, when I was considering going, I read the poem by Forrest Fenn. Horrendous poem, horrendously bad poem. Obviously not meant to sound good and be poetic, but just meant to be a treasure map written in a poem style. Something about brown house, brown stone or something. And when I read that poem, the first thing that popped into my mind was water flowing, and I had an image pop into my head, and it's just my imagination most likely, but it could have been, who knows, maybe it was buried near some water. I specifically envisioned that the box was buried. When I read the poem, I researched it, a picture popped into my head that said it's buried underneath a tiny waterfall. We're talking about a waterfall of a creek that falls like a couple inches, and perfectly buried underneath there. And or it wouldn't be washed away, like maybe some riverbed stones supporting it, just buried just a couple inches or maybe a couple feet below the water, right there below a tiny waterfall. That's the first picture that popped into my head. I was like, you know, I could find that creek. I used the visual more than anything else, but the visual came after I read the poem. it is possible during this lockdown, during this pandemic, someone from the East Coast found enough time, free time, to treasure hunt in New Mexico. Very possible. I was planning on going to New Mexico to visit Billy the Kid's grave site at Fort Sumner, I believe. I'm going to go there. I'm going to visit Billy the Kid, replica hat, amazingly crafted, custom made, one of a kind. You won't see a hat like this anywhere else. And I wanted to go to New Mexico. Now, I had two reasons until the treasure has been found. I'm a very skeptical person. You might see my ghost investigation videos and think that I'm not. Oh, you believe in ghosts? You're not skeptical at all. Ghosts aren't real. Spirits are real, all right? I'm an extremely skeptical person. Check out my hoax hunter videos where I bust hoaxes, mostly internet hoaxes. So, you gotta understand, every single Bigfoot story I've ever heard, here's Bigfoot, and he's so blurry. Mitch Hedberg makes a joke. Bigfoot's blurry in every photo because he's a blurry creature. Up close, he's still blurry. I mean, I can't do the joke. I can't. But you look it up. He's hilarious. Mitch Hedberg, everyone knows. But he's like, that's scary. There's a blurry creature out there. You always hear the end result of these Bigfoot stories. It's always a guy in a suit. It's always a dude in a suit. It's always a dude in a suit that barely fits him, and his pot belly's sticking out, and he's halfway behind a tree, half a mile away, with the most pixelated camera phone taking the picture. And it's horrendously, purposely as pixelated as possible, so you can't see the seams, you can't see the cheap suit you can buy on Amazon. The Forrest Fenn treasure, don't know if it ever was discovered or discoverable. Forrest Fenn claims that he checked on it, the location, from time to time. Now, if I knew that, which I would have suspected that anyway, but I would hire a private investigator to follow Forrest Fenn. And where does this guy go to just get away and look around? Probably the treasure is nearby. Maybe that's the route the East Coast treasure hunter who's anonymous took and found a place Forrest Fenn looks to see if anyone's dug any holes around, and perhaps that's how he found it. Perhaps he followed the clues. People did die looking for this treasure. I'm skeptical Forrest didn't dig it up himself. Maybe he fell on hard times during this pandemic. It's understandable. Maybe he dug it up to pay the bills. Some of the coins are worth thousands of dollars individually by themselves, like a $5,000 coin, a $10,000 coin, a $1,500 coin. Solid gold, Liberty, and this and that, here and there, coins that are worth approximately $1 million or more. Some people say it's worth $2 million. Price of gold goes up all the time. I'm a skeptical person. Clearly, it was somewhere, probably buried. Doesn't seem like it was too close to water, but it could have been. There was definitely a lot of moisture, so maybe it was close to that little creek that I had pictured in my mind. Because the iron key was rusting and rusted. Obviously, gold does not rust, so the gold's fine. Maybe a little tarnish, but anything of iron is gonna start to deteriorate. Doesn't mean Forrest didn't have it in his backyard for these 10 years. I'm still a skeptical person. I want to see more evidence, and we probably won't see any more evidence. I don't know how much money Forrest Fenn made off the book. I remember looking for it like 4 years ago. It was $100, and the price kept going up because people really wanted to get it to find the clues. I'm a fan of treasure hunting, sure. I know a few secrets about treasure hunting most treasure hunters do not know. I watched many episodes of Curse of Oak Island. It's an interesting show, except for the lack of treasure that they find on that show. They spend who knows how many hundreds of thousands of dollars, but the show funds them back. So I don't think they lose any money on spending those hundreds of thousands. The show probably pays them, who knows, $1 million here and there. maybe $250,000 here and there, so they can afford to waste all that work digging up a single coin worth nothing, or a pewter cross. That pewter cross or that lead cross, very cool artifact, not worth $200,000 of digging to find, but still pretty cool. I'm very skeptical there's anything on Oak Island. I think if anyone went to that trouble, they probably knew how to get it out easily, and they left all the traps. So they put it there, got it out, traps. They found, they knew the secret route because they dug the secret route. They went in, built a false entrance where treasure hunters wouldn't get anywhere, in and out, bada bing, bada boom. I think that if there ever was any great amount of Knights Templar huge cache of gold on Oak Island, that it was extracted many, many, many years ago. Sadly, people passed away looking for gold there. I don't think anyone should risk their lives looking for gold. But I do know a secret about hidden cache, hidden stashes, hidden gold, hidden treasure. You've heard the cliche of dragons guarding their cave full of gold. You've heard of leprechauns guarding the pot of gold. You've heard of Vikings burying other Vikings to protect the gold. You've heard of such stories. Such stories are based on reality. There is some type of spirit rule where great hoards of gold are protected by spirit beings. Why would a spirit being want to protect a giant hoard? Well, humans are so corrupt that when a human finds $1 billion worth of gold, they're going to cause a bunch of war, a lot of havoc. They're going to become some king, and they're just going to, a lot of the time, let's face it, do evil with it. Whatever the case may be, the unworthy are unable to discover these huge caches of gold because there are spirits actually protecting them invisibly. I believe this to be true, even though you will hear it and consider it hearsay. But knowing that, I think if you use ghost investigation equipment in conjunction with metal detectors, that where there are a great amount of spirit confirmations with spirit investigation equipment and metal detectors, there could be a great cache of gold. I know back in the day there were some very folk magic methods for extracting such hidden treasures, hidden treasure chests, where you had to appease the spirits. I would not recommend that, but who knows, I mean, perhaps you do have to gain their trust in some way, maybe you do. I've never attempted such. I've been to haunted locations. I never looked for treasure at those haunted locations, but it's something to consider. I do have a metal detector. I didn't purchase it myself, but I got it for Christmas last Christmas, and or maybe the Christmas before that, and I haven't used it extensively, but I am curious. I might try it out here and there. But when that picture popped into my head of the creek in New Mexico where the Forrest Fenn treasure might be buried, probably my imagination, but from time to time I think everyone has a little bit of remote viewing ability or psychic ability, if you will. One time I was with this guy. He said, we're going to go to this house. And immediately when he said we're going to this house, a yellow house popped into my head. We got there and it was a yellow house, bright yellow, exactly as my imagination, I thought at the time, turned out to be precognition. It turned out to be a psychic vision of the future. So I think some of these things happen from time to time. You can't win a lottery ticket on it. I didn't picture it. I didn't envision lottery numbers or anything like that. But usually it's useless information. Something you can't prove. You can't really use it. It's just pretty cool when it does happen. You don't know if it's a remote viewing or psychic vision from the future until after the fact. One time I was driving around an apartment complex I lived in with someone, and I think they were talking about super comic book character superpowers, superhero powers. I think that was the subject. I can't remember. All I know is they're talking about being able to fly or something. And I said, oh, that stop sign, I could pluck it out and just throw it down. I could just pluck out that stop sign and throw it out. I envisioned for a split second the stop sign being plucked out, and it just popped into my head, so I said it, And we're talking 2 days later, 3 days later, no more than 4 days later. Either walking past or driving past that same parking lot with the exit out of the apartment complex, that wooden, really big, hefty pole with the stop sign on top was pulled out of the ground with a huge concrete bottom. I don't know why it was pulled out. I don't know who pulled it out. I don't think a car hit it. I didn't see any damage, but he was pulled out with a huge hole in the ground, exactly as I envisioned and exactly as I mentioned a couple days before, just talking about theoretical abilities. And the same person was with me when we saw it, and they're like, "Whoa, how did you know?" I don't know. I don't know. So I think these things from time to time we can have precognition. Can't really use it. It's a cool anecdote. Don't claim to be super psychic or anything like that. I'm very skeptical of psychics. I'm very skeptical of ghost hunters. I'm very skeptical of paranormal claims. But I've had extreme paranormal contact, extreme supernatural contact. They say crows follow the Dalai Lama. I don't know if that's true. I don't know. But there's a lot of crows out today. I like crows. Crows are very smart. Or are they ravens? I guess the bigger ones are ravens, the smaller ones are crows. But they're definitely the same, similar intelligence and similar family. I like crows and ravens. Very cool creatures. More episodes coming soon. My tiny Casio keyboard I just ordered. I got it using eBay bucks. You get 0.001 eBay bucks for every $1 million you spend. So it took like 6 months to save up 60 eBay bucks. Bought this $60 keyboard, 7.5 volt power supply you're supposed to plug into it. I accidentally plugged in the 9 volt and I thought I fried it. I heard a sound instead of what it's supposed to do. I thought I fried it. I've heard that before when I'm plugged into different things. Usually it's fried. I waited a couple weeks. I plugged in some batteries instead of the power supply. After trying the 7.5 battery supply, which I specifically bought for it, it didn't work. Plugged in some regular AA batteries, popped in some regular AA batteries, it works. The keyboard jump started. It went through a reboot process of a tiny 80s keyboard. It works. Going to be making new intro, outro theme music. Of course, after I get my keyboard working, my 2 pedals I brought, I turned those on, or I plugged those both in. Both of them are dead. Both of them are from Japan. They both died. Notoriously, these things die, I guess. I think it's some tiny little... See, I'm not too electronically inclined. Diffuser, who knows what these things are called. But 2 little things, probably maybe the temperature change between Arizona and California. I don't know, but it's probably a cheap, easy fix, but not being electronically inclined, I don't know how to fix it. So I just ordered 2 new guitar pedals, which I use for keyboards exclusively. I'm a huge fan of music. I've probably spent I probably spent a good $5,000 on musical equipment, and I've probably spent a good $5,000 on ghost investigation equipment. So I sold 2 guitars because I don't play guitar too often anymore. I needed to pay the bills. I sold my 1997 USA Fender Stratocaster, and I sold my 1989 Fender Squier, which you think would be worth $50, but it happened to be made in the USA in the same factory that made Fender Strats, and the factory burned down. It was one of the rarest Squiers in the world. I didn't know that. So I sold that for $600 back in the day to pay the bills. I had a really cool keyboard. Oh, I liked it a lot. I bought it for $80. I sold it for $400. It had a really cool fader, different modulation abilities. It was a Yamaha from the 80s, or maybe early 90s. Very cool keyboard. But you can get a cheap keyboard, plug it up with some effects pedals, time delay, echo, and I bought another pedal, and I'm going to put them together, hopefully make really good intro music, outro music. I like to make custom music. I don't like to rely on other music, but yes, amazing music given to me by amazing people. I haven't made music videos yet. I work so hard, I get home, I sleep. I wake up, this is my day off, but this day is already gone. A lot of things had to take place between here and there. Still waiting on my spirit box that I ordered, a really nice one. When it gets here, I'll do a review of it. I'll show you it. I'll take it, hopefully, to a place I know a spirit resides. Maybe for the first time, hear what that spirit sounds like. That is interesting to me because I've never heard this particular spirit's voice. It's a scary concept, not for everyone. I do not recommend ghost investigating for someone that hasn't been, I would say, initiated into the realm of spirits bothering you on a regular basis. If spirits haven't bothered you on a regular basis, and it's nice and calm and you're not sure if spirits are real, you are in a lucky window, a lucky place, and many people are in that place. That's why they're skeptical and lean in the direction of ghosts not existing. See, ghosts is a term for human spirits, and it's a generic term, but I don't think any of the spirits I contact are human spirits. I think they're all non-human spirits. I think they are closer to the realm of demons, closer to the realm of elemental earth spirits, wind spirits, water spirits, fire spirits, nature spirits, and they could also be called demons interchangeably, not human. I think these spirits have been hanging around for thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions, if not hundreds of millions of years. And I think they like to mimic humans to the point where they will memorize a tragic event and repeat it. And I think they do so out of their own amusement. Just a theory, a very unpopular theory. But I think these spirits hanging around for millions of years, they don't have much to do other than observe humans. Just a theory, just an idea thrown out there. Forrest Fenn's treasure. Show me more evidence, show me more proof. I'm going to check eBay to see if any of these coins are popping up, but some of these coins, they're common, but they're uncommon enough where there'll be 10 of them on eBay. There'll be 50 of them on eBay. But if I was the dude, I'd probably sell them one coin at a time, space it out. There's a lot of movies where the character finds money. I think there's a movie called Money for Nothing. Guy finds a bunch of money fell off a money truck. He hides it, and he tells a cousin, he tells a friend, and they tell 10 people. He goes to the bar. Every single person at the bar is asking him for money because they all know that he's a millionaire. If I came across a huge amount of money, I would consider it fortuitous. I would consider it fate. I would consider it literally a blessing from the heavens. Unless it's some lady's purse with her ID. I would immediately return it. We're talking if you're digging in the Superstition Mountains for the Lost Dutchman's mine, you come across a gold bar. You're like, wow. I would consider that a blessing. And maybe I would do the same thing this anonymous East Coaster is doing and just remaining anonymous. I don't know, Such has never happened to me. I've never found any huge amount of money. But we shall see. I mean, chasing money isn't my dream or goal. Treasure hunting is interesting, though. Interesting concept, using the spiritual aspect. I think if the Curse of Oak Island people used ghost investigation equipment, I think they'd have a little more success. This show called Skinwalker Ranch, something or other, The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, something to that effect. Every single crew member, I don't know, man. Sometimes sometimes they come off as worse actors than the Pawn Stars crew. Sometimes it comes off more rehearsed than the Pawn Stars crew, unless that's their actual selves, that they're kind of cartoon character-ish. But I liked episode 1 and 2, and then 3, 4, 5. It's fallen off into the realm of you're overacting, you're over-exaggerating. If it's a radioactive area where some fallout hit the dirt and it's there permanently, and the half-life isn't for 500 years, and anyone who digs there dies of radiation, yes, that's serious and scary. But it seems every single crew member of this Skinwalker Ranch show doesn't believe in spirits. Not a single one of them. And if they do, they keep to themselves pretty closely guarded. The main astrophysicist says it's not an entity, it's not intelligent, it's not an entity, or maybe it is an alien. He's of the ancient aliens belief that everything's an alien. I wish some of these supposed learned people would grab a static electricity meter and go to the places I go. Turn them on, sit them down, have a conversation with nothing there, and get responses. Spirits are of a spirit matter that's invisible, optically invisible, but it's not invisible from certain pieces of equipment. Electromagnetic field equipment, static electricity equipment, and occasionally there's a light anomaly. That light anomaly is an entity from a higher dimension, which is purely invisible. Either they're purposefully showing us less than 1%, they're showing us like 0.001% of their being. I think if they showed their entire being, it would look like a walking, talking cliche of a glowing alien, a fully humanoid form, fully glowing. And they know they can't show themselves like that without a million myths popping up, without a religion popping up. But these beings of light, occasionally you can see that light, tiny little sliver. If these entities have been hanging around planet Earth and they're native to planet Earth, not alien whatsoever, but fully earthly beings, but of a spirit nature, and their entire muscle anatomy is not of a physical nature, but is of a spiritual nature. And if they're in the 5th dimension, or the 6th dimension, or the 4.5th dimension, 5.5th dimension, 6.6th dimension, who knows? I usually say they're in the 5th dimension. They can look down and see us below the glass floor. We can look up and see nothing. I've said this many, many, many times, but I've had full-blown contact communication to the point where they have manifested a hand and picked up wires in my room and dropped it. I saw full-blown levitation in 2018. I bought about 30 wires online. They were about 99 cents each. $30 didn't seem like a big deal. I get this huge box of wires. It's easily 3 times more wires than I need. I probably needed 10 wires. I got 30 wires because of the deal was so cheap. And I at work, I spent, a good 30 minutes drawing some schematics. Maybe I spent an hour, maybe 2-3 hours over the course of a week. I drew these schematics with all these wires plugged into like 4 or 5 different guitar pedals, into 2-3 keyboards, into 2, 3, 4 drum machines into a mixing volume control device. And I just wanted to do what you see on YouTube. They're playing a whole orchestra and symphony with a couple keyboards, and it sounds amazing. And I wanted to hook that up and do it, get it ready to go. And I do have that equipment. Some of it is in Arizona. I'm going to go to get a U-Haul and bring it back and make some amazing stuff. But so the spirits are obviously hanging around watching. What is he doing? What is he drawing? Is that ghost investigation related? No, it's just music related. So even spirits don't know what's going on, and they want to spy on us. All I can say is this: I spent a couple hours drawing schematics of the wires, how they would go into the different effects pedals, how they would go into the different keyboards and drum machines and the mixer. Then I had a huge pile of wires. I had the mixer. I had one drum machine, one keyboard, one guitar pedal. I was trying to hook them up. Even hooking up a couple was complicated. Didn't come out right. Didn't sound good. So I give up, for that weekend. I watch Netflix. I've told this story many times. I take off my headphones to use the restroom, and I turn my head and I see the wires hanging in an impossible pile because I didn't know they were levitating because it didn't register to me at the time. Oh, there's some levitating wires above my desk. Nobody assumes there's some levitating wires above your desk. So what registered was, I don't remember leaving my wires in an impossible pile like that. What's going on? And then they drop. The hand is invisible optically the entire time, but they drop exactly as if a hand just did this. And the pile goes, and then it hits against my desk. Just regular gravity takes effect, and the wires swing back and forth for a good minute. And I knew there's a invisible entity of intelligent, full-blown intelligent conscious entity picking up wires and dropping it in my room. I think it was the spirit saying, "What the heck did you buy all these wires for?" Entity's almost mocking me. Like, is this for ghost investigation? Is this music? What's going on? It picks up my pile of wires, drops it. I have another pile of wires on the ground. I'm pretty sure I heard it and saw it step on that pile. But it wasn't as obvious because it was a pretty big pile of power plugs and a couple of the same wires, and I think I saw some indentation. I heard other things in the room moving, but for the most part the wires dropping was a huge thing. The biggest thing that's ever happened to me since 2018, and biggest thing that ever happened to me in 2018. I rented a haunted room in 2011, but 99% of my ghost encounters happened, I use the word ghost loosely, spirit encounters happened in 2011. 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, a few things happened. We're talking like sleep paralysis, a couple creaks here and there, but nothing huge until that. And it was 2 days before a live stream. And it was after the first Corners of Rooms experiment. But a couple months after that, I was contacted by a lady from the Travel Channel. And I auditioned for a ghost hunting show. So I see levitation, full-blown levitation in my room. And I'm contacted. Well, then I went to Hollywood Boulevard. I went up and down Hollywood Boulevard. And there is a spirit on Hollywood Boulevard, probably multiple spirits. Very playful, set off the devices so much I thought it was interference from some electronics, but it wasn't. It was full-blown spirit activity. So maybe it was a spirit from Hollywood Boulevard that contacted. How does this contact take place? I think there's most definitely a spirit contact nature of contact that happens between actual major TV channel studio people are inspired by an actual entity to watch my YouTube channel and then contact me to interview me or audition me. I didn't get the gig, but I know he was connected to Zach Bagans because 99, if not 100% of the ghost investigation shows on the Travel Channel are produced by Zach Bagans. And the entire time the lady said, we're looking for an Egon from Ghostbusters. I had kind of an Egon hairdo at the time. I was big into the ghost investigation equipment to the point where she thought I made it myself. I didn't make this millimeter. I got it from Gary Galka, who geniusly made it. I just know how to use it, and I use it regularly. But I told her I don't use it in my room anymore. But I turned on the static meter feature for her during the interview. It was a FaceTime interview on my phone. First I was interviewed on the phone, then she said, let's do a FaceTime audition. I said, sure. I didn't get it because I'm not sure it was a real audition. But if it was, I'm lucky to have been considered. But I'm skeptical. I'm a very skeptical person. I'm skeptical he was even a real audition. It could have been like that invisible being picking up wires in my room, dropping it, wondering, is this going to be an amazing ghost investigation piece of equipment? No, it's just my failure at attempting to hook up 5 devices and play them and make some music out of them. I want a synthesizer that actually sounds good. And when you only got a couple $100, yes, I have spent about $5,000 on different equipment over the years, but I don't have any single piece of equipment that is that expensive, and you have to buy a bunch of cheap things, and then you got to upgrade if you want something to sound good. I recently bought a couple pedals. Hopefully, we will see. We'll come out with something good. But I'm skeptical that they weren't spying on me to see if I wasn't making any ghost investigation equipment. She said, oh, do you have anything to show me? I showed her a prototype of something I didn't even make yet. I just had the pieces. Because I didn't know I was going to be auditioning for a random ghost hunting show. And even then, I thought I was just going to turn on the devices and investigate like anyone else. Very few ghost investigators make their own stuff. Didn't get it. But her mentioning of Egon over and over and over and over, and then finding out like 1 or 2 years later that Zach Bagans is obsessed with Egon from Ghostbusters. And now Zach Bagans bought Egon's jumpsuit, Egon's proton pack or whatever. Oh no, he bought the ghost trap, the original hero ghost trap that opens and closes. I do want to visit the Haunted Museum. I am a fan of ghost adventures. I'm never going to be a crew member. I'm never going to be invited, but if they ever had me on as a guest, they would see that unlike other guests, I'd bring my own equipment. Unlike other guests, I wouldn't just be a tourist, just along for the ride like a roller coaster. I would show them some of my methods, and I think we'd get some better results, or some good results. They have a different angle. Sometimes they provoke, sometimes they are more respectful. I try to be respectful from the get-go, and what I noticed is I can't see what's going on off camera, because you can't see. Obviously they talk about what's going to happen, and they film what's pretending to talk about what's going to happen. But I start talking to the ghost maybe 15 minutes before I get to the location, because I know the ghost, the spirit of the location, is going to be spying on that level. And I don't see that with the Ghost Adventures crew. They're standing like 30 feet from the house entrance, and they're like, okay, I'm going to provoke this ghost, force it to show us stuff. Not exactly what they do every time, but occasionally they'll say, okay, what do we do? What's the game plan? And the spirit's hanging out right there listening to the game plan. Perhaps they do know. All I know is if you look at my investigation with Brandon Young at the Old Grist Mill, the last one, which I've never thoroughly edited. I just threw up the raw version, which is why it doesn't have many views, which is why people aren't, oh, wow, amazing. I didn't zoom up on anything and show you the evidence that's clearly there, but when Brandon first turns on the camera, and I'm like, oh, can you see me? And he's like, oh, is it okay if I shine this in your face? And I make a joke and blah, blah, blah. There's literally a spirit orb flying around me. And it's the first time I've ever seen that. So that was interesting. That was the Gristmill spirit in spirit orb form. Nothing doctored. You see the spirit orb a couple times during that investigation. I didn't point it out and zoom it because it's just raw footage. I don't have thousands of hours to edit. I don't have a crew to edit for me. When I get home, I'm dead tired. I can't dedicate 10 hours to editing a video. I wish I could, and I will one day get back to that level, hopefully. I don't like to put on a character. I am who I am. I speak my mind. Spirits are real. They exist. Hopefully one day I can prove it on a level which is undeniable. But there is a risk and I guess a little bit of a pushback that if I prove it on a level of, check this out, here's levitation. If I prove it on a level like, check this out, this is levitation, there will be repercussions. There will be a price to pay. Even after doing the Corners of Rooms Mysterialis experiment number 1, even after having a simple REM pod go off, beep, 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 I was like, whoa, that's pretty freaky. This is my room. I have to sleep in this room. 24 hours later, a spirit walked through me, a very evil spirit, a very evil feeling, a creepy, gross, disgusting, horrendous feeling, something you wouldn't wish on your enemies to feel. Something that's not worth it. You feel that creepy feeling and you're like, that wasn't worth it. Filming that and getting 100 views on YouTube just so I can have a demon walk through my body 24 hours later, not worth it. So if I ever do have, check this out, this is levitation. Levitation happens. 24 hours after that spectacle of 10 views on YouTube, I would have to pay the price with some demon walking through my freaking body. It's not fun. It's not games. Some people watch this as a spectacle and gawk at it like it's a show, and it's comedy, and it's a routine, and it's an act. Never was, never has been. I guess you can tell to an extent what is an act based on how much money someone puts into something. I'm a big fan of music, big fan of making music. Poured $5,000 into it easily. Haven't reaped much benefits other than a couple YouTube intro outro songs, but it was fun and I like it. I enjoy it. Someone that spends $9.99 on an iPhone app that makes music for them, really chintzy, really crappy, it's not the same level as $5,000 of analog equipment. It's not the same. It's not the same. You see how much they care about music if they only spend $9.99 on some app. Money isn't everything, but money can show where someone's passion is. And not just money. If you don't have any money, time. Time can show where someone's passion is. I really wish I could spend more time on making these videos. I would have to get a different job to spend more time. I would have to get a different job. I wish I could get a job which would allow me to have more creative, free time, and hopefully that will be the case in the future. That's something I hope for. I want more creative time to do creative things, make videos, edit videos, make paintings, make anything. I still owe the people. I saw something over here. I don't know what it was. It's a little creepy. I saw something over here. We got some dogs. Stay tuned, more episodes coming soon. My name you need not hear. Be seeing you.